It is 2024. Let hot moms be hot moms. Hey y'all, I'm Sasha Raquel. Today we're going to be talking about The Idea of You, the new Harry Styles fanfic inspired film. As I get further into adulthood, the more things from my childhood become more relevant, more culturally pervasive, and One Direction just continues to be that, okay? And I, for one, am not complaining, okay? We have a movie with Nicholas Galtstein and Anne Hathaway to live out the YN fanfic of our dreams, but with a little bit of a twist of tone that I quite appreciated. When single mom Selene takes her daughter to see the August Moon show at Coachella and she meets Hayes Campbell, she finds herself falling into a life-altering love affair despite their 16-year age gap. This film, I had some expectations for because I think it was kind of announced that this film was coming out around the time that Harry Styles and Olivia Wilde were breaking up in real life. So it started to become this very culturally relevant thing. I think they've done a really good job here with this being based on a book in their casting because Anne Hathaway is somebody who is very well admired, and she's been in the Gen Z millennial sphere of awareness for a long time due to past projects like The Devil Wears Prada and the Princess Diaries series. So I think she's a really great choice in this role that is simultaneously glamorized and you kind of want to put yourself into while also being somebody who's dealing with some real life struggles. She's a woman in her 40s who is a single mother, and you find out that her husband had cheated on her, and that is the reason they are no longer together, and her daughter is kind of growing more distant from her. The film takes a really interesting lens and approach to a woman aging and trying to find herself at a later time in life. Then they did another smart thing with the casting of Nicholas Galtstein, because not only are him and that mole on his upper lip really putting in work in this film, but he was in several other book to screen adaptations such as Purple Hearts and more recently Red, White, and Royal Blue, which he has become very beloved for. So I think, again, this seems like silly things. Popular actor, put them in a popular movie that's based on other popular celebrities. I get that that all seems straightforward, but I think it's all really smart here, and especially in a genre of rom-coms where things get really dismissed and people are asking somebody like Anne Hathaway, who's an Oscar winner, why she's doing something like this. I am only here to elevate the rom-com genre and let it be taken seriously while also just being a good time. Now, these actors are also great for another reason, which is their chemistry, and that's the thing I want to stress the most about the film. Whether you like the songs that they've made for it, personally, I think the band from Turning Red was a little bit better of a boy band, but you didn't hear that from me. Their chemistry and the way that they interact with one another is so, you feel a relationship being built and you feel these two people having this experience that feels really unique and special to both of them and isn't just this age gap romance. It's not as black and white as that. It's not just a flat relationship, and a lot of that is just because of their chemistry. There's one scene in particular when Hayes finds himself at Selene's house and he starts to play the piano. There's something about that scene that I cannot articulate in words how that will make you feel. Ladies, this movie is great when it comes to just seeing their dynamic and relationship. As much as I've talked about the rom-com genre, I think this film in particular does a really great job of balancing the goofy and the emotional, because this film takes a look at what it's like to be a pop star who is known for being a part of one thing, but that's not all they want to be defined as for their entire life, who maybe has more to them than what you think you know as a diehard fan. You also have this woman who is a mother who wants to be loved and desired, but also just wants to have a fulfilling life. And the intersection of that youthfulness with aging is done really well here in a way that I don't think makes either party look silly or stupid. I think this movie doesn't make you feel like you're getting whiplash tonally when you go from watching a Coachella performance and a girl getting pointed out in the crowd to a more heartbreaking discussion between two individuals who are sharing secrets of their life that they've never shared with anybody else. That was balanced really well. Again, that is thanks to the writing, that is thanks to the actors, that is just thanks to the production of this film generally. I personally would really love to read this book to see if the book goes into any more detail about things, because the one thing I will say is this film did feel like it had very particular plot points it needed to hit, and then I do sort of feel like that initial Coachella scenes were taking up a little bit too much runtime in the very beginning. And I understand why, but this audience is already clued into the fact that this movie may or may not have been inspired by Harry Styles. And therefore, I don't think we need as much of an introduction to how big this band is and how popular they are. There's some things they do later on in the film, such as having Selene watch music videos or seeing them on interviews, that I think really naturally portrays that without it having to be forced the way it is a little bit early on. I still think it's fun, and I think that's the place where you can most insert yourself into the role. Like, it's very much giving Night Changes music video, if you know what I'm talking about. But I feel like there's gotta be more pining and ups and downs in a written version, and maybe that's not true. So if you've read the book, I'd love to know your thoughts on it compared to the movie down below. Overall, I think the thing I admired the most about this movie, other than it just being a really good time and a really emotionally sweet love story, is the fact that the age gap played a very important part into the story. Again, I've talked about this a little bit already. There could have been a really easy way to go about this and just state that there was miscommunication or have someone's feelings be hurt, and then just like there's a breakup that's not really explained. Anyone who is a fan of romance literature knows about the third act breakup that just feels forced sometimes. In this though, it felt really natural. It felt very well explained, and it felt like a character experienced something emotionally, tried to deal with it, and the fallout of those actions was then communicated, and that's where the plot goes. It did a really good job of not using a cop-out of, let me show you something, and then just imply miscommunication between these characters, but having them have real and honest conversations, showing the fact that they aren't quite sure how they fit due to that age gap. There's one scene in particular dealing with Selene and a pool that I think articulates extremely well the way that a woman would interpret this situation of being in a relationship with a much younger man and trying to navigate that. And I think what's interesting about this movie is how the subplots and the characters' past kind of play into this, because Selene's husband had cheated on her with a younger woman previously, and so there's a bit of hypocrisy she feels, there's a bit of judgment she puts on herself that she assumes others will put on her. But I think everything is talked through in a way that doesn't feel like, oh, you're just making this general assumption and feeling stupid, or like, I see this man kissing you, but you're gonna think that he doesn't like there's none of that silliness that I really appreciate it, and I think makes this film feel mature, that communicates its ideas well. Let me know what you thought of The Idea of You. Where does this rank amongst your rom-coms? I think it was better than average. I don't think it's like a all-time favorite for me, but it's probably one I'd have a good time revisiting. And again, it got me interested enough in the story to go on to hopefully read the book soon. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, y'all.